Good. Good afternoon and welcome to the June 8th special board meeting. Appreciate all those that are tuning in and any that are here. I'm calling that meeting to order, and Mr. Christenberry, would you please lead us in opening prayer?
Yes, if you will pray with me, please. Lord, we're grateful this afternoon to be in this place, to be about the business of the school system here in Baldwin County, the county we love so much. Lord, you have blessed us. You have blessed us so much. Today, though, as we gather, our hearts and our minds are on Deputy Bill Smith, his family, his immediate family, his law enforcement brothers and sisters, Lord. A lot of things we don't understand, and it's probably not for us to understand, but Lord, we just give you the praise and the glory to know that all things work together for good. Be with us in this meeting, that we would be courageous, that we would be strong, that we would do the right thing, that we would keep in mind that what we're about are the children of Baldwin County. Guide us and direct us and keep us in the center of your will. We'll always give you praise in Christ's name. Amen.
Please stand and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving into the action agenda. Mr. Tyler?
Yes, ma'am. Amendments to the agenda. Amend number 3, 3-meal tax, special tax district request from District 5.
All right, only one amendment this afternoon. Do I hear a motion?
I move we amend the agenda.
Motion for Mr. Christenberry, second for Mr. Stewart. All those, any questions or discussion about that? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion carries.
Items of business. Agenda item 1, federal ESSER 2 application approval. Superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the federal ESSER 2 application and budget appropriations as stipulated in the agenda exhibit.
So moved. Motion from Ms. Colley.
Second.
Second for Mr. Christenberry. Any questions or discussion?
Is all that federal money? Yes.
Any other questions?
More coming.
If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion carries.
Agenda item 2, amendment to Robertsdale, Loxley, and Silver Hill Special Tax District 5. Superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the resolution for amendment of Special Tax District 5 as stipulated in the agenda exhibit.
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Stewart.
Second.
Second for Mr. Christenberry. Any questions or discussion?
I have a quick question. Exactly how are we amending District 5? I couldn't figure it out. Are we changing the actual district?
So it's probably a good time just to make the introduction of what it is as well. The technical question is we have to run down the meets and bounds of where everything is. So we have to pick up Fish River on the backside of what would have been Daphne and Spanish Fort in that district. So there's a lot of technicalities to how it was amended specifically. Scotty, do you want to go through that a little bit and just walk them through?
I mean, there is an existing District 5 already.
Right.
So all this is doing is it is updating, like John said, with a complete perimeter description of this district, and the intent is to align it as closely as possible, maintaining tax parcels as one. So here's the thing: we've got existing boundaries, like say where kids attend schools. They disregard tax parcel boundaries. So it may be along a creek or a tributary or a road or something that doesn't. Those features may split tax parcels. When we're drafting and creating these tax districts, we have to capture an entire tax parcel. It's either got to be inside or outside the district. And so that's what this does. This was a very laborious exercise, and Bill Harbour did the significant heavy lifting on this, but it is a detailed description that adheres to tax parcel boundaries for the entire district.
So is it what it's trying to do is make sure everyone who's paying this new tax, their child is going to the school where that tax is going to benefit them? Is that what it's trying to do?
That's exactly right. It was just constructed backwards. Every kid who's currently going to this school, we want to make sure is contributing to the taxes. So we did it the other way, but exactly what you said. We took the feeder pattern, and then as Scotty said, there's some places where a road might go down the middle, and as you guys know, people from sides of the road can go to the school. In this particular area, we had some unique features that because of our bus routes and the way the buses go in and out to certain districts, we had people who were not zoned for Robertsdale, but for well over a decade have been going because of the way the buses have to go into a certain area and turn around and come out. So the district was changed to incorporate all of that. I don't remember any substantial change, do you? I don't think there's any substantial change to what would be reflected in the feeder pattern map, other than, as Scotty said, sometimes like a road or a river might go through a piece of property of which both sides are owned by the same person, so we have to capture both sides of that.
And
so it's real technical.
And if memory serves me correctly, I feel like I'm really echoing here. If I am, I'm sorry.
We all are.
I know, and I think I have the feedback, so I'm just going to turn this off.
I think if memory serves me correctly, didn't we establish a couple of years ago all of these rough tax districts? So I think anytime any of these tax districts actually come up for a vote, we may need to revisit and amend that district.
Well, the short answer is yes, because what was adopted when we looked at Gulf Shores and Orange Beach was really focused on trying to get something done to appease that issue at that time. And the detail was not spent on every other district. That's number one. Number two, when we changed Spanish Fort and adopted Fairhope, we then started the domino effect of impacting the others. And so we have to capture those. So for instance, I know Orange Beach and Foley will be jumping into this beautiful hot tub at some point. We'll have to amend the districts a little bit to do what we've done on the Robertsdale side. So it's just little tweaks. But as Scotty said, the little tweaks are important because if somebody finds a chink in the armor and they didn't want this to pass, they sue us because we didn't write the legal description. And that's why if you looked at your agenda, you guys don't have the printed version, but it's crazy how many pages it takes to actually write that out in words. It's not a map. It has to be written in words. So. Yes, ma'am. Does that answer everybody's questions about the district?
But it does not encumber future rezoning of feeder patterns.
It doesn't, to the extent that the board would recognize that should you choose to bring in or exclude people from that feeder pattern, the taxes do not go with them.
Right.
And we have said all along that entering into the multi-tax district area will add a layer of, shall I say, duty or obligation to the board to just consider that as you redistrict in the future. Remembering that the ultimate goal here, when this was rolled out, was that we knew we could not adopt a countywide tax. There was too much opposition, but we knew that certain districts wanted to move ahead. The ultimate goal is, though, that the whole county at some point will have levied 3 mills. They just won't have done it at one time. So once that happens, then you don't have to have the concern of moving people around. Legally, there's no concern. You can redistrict, which is, we call it attendance zones. You can make attendance zoned amendments as you choose to deal with attendance and population changes. But I do think that it is important to recognize, for example, if you took someone out of Fairhope and put them in Daphne, but they were paying taxes that went to Fairhope schools, it would be a political concern. So I do think it creates a new level of thought, but there's nothing that prohibits you from doing anything with it.
Were there any other questions?
No, but I will give you all some information on the next agenda item that's dealing with the action items, but not the district itself.
Okay.
This is
We
agenda
haven't
item
had a
2. This is
motion
agenda
yet,
item
have
2.
we?
No, I don't think you had a motion yet, right? You have had it.
There's a motion and a second.
Oh, after we have all this discussion, huh? Any other questions or discussion? I was at the right point. Any other questions? All right, if not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item 3 meal special tax district request from District 5. Superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the filing with the Baldwin County Commission of a request for a special tax District 5 election, and to authorize and direct the superintendent and staff to take all necessary actions in furtherance thereof as amended and stipulated in the agenda exhibit.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Christenberry,
Second.
second for Mr. Stewart. Any questions or discussion?
John?
You have some information?
Yes, so I wanted to give you guys some background on this. I think this is pretty exciting. As you guys know, with Spanish Fort and Fairhope, the administration, senior staff, none of us have ever taken a position of pushing anything with regards to taxes, nor, to my knowledge, has the board taken any position of pushing anything. But I would say probably a year ago, about the time that COVID started, the mayor from Robertsdale had reached out to me at a meeting we were at and asked me what all was included. And you know, it by no means was disrespectful, but knowing Charlie himself and knowing the people of Robertsdale, I kind of thought to myself, well, I'm happy to share it with you. Didn't really know that it would have much reality to it. And I got to give it to you, they've been 100% serious about this. They have held meetings. They've gotten business people on board. He went, talked to Joe Sharp. They've gotten the mayors of Loxley and Silver Hill together. The biggest question that comes up is, do I think it will pass? I will tell you, that's not my biggest concern. I think this is a huge movement forward for the Robertsdale feeder pattern. Daphne is still trying to figure out how to get their ducks in a row. And I don't think I could have ever predicted that Daphne would not have been the next one in line for this vote. Matter of fact, the guy to my left who's shaking his head over here was adamant 6 weeks ago that this was not going to make it to the agenda in time, and just kept telling me they'll never get the signatures, they'll never get the documents, and they did. I mean, they have busted their tail to make this work, because in all due respect, it's been a very, very short time frame. They came to us at the end of April and said they really wanted to do this, and the election calendar for this year, because of redistricting and because we're on a state election and they move the elections up, we have a very small window to get this done. So this election, as you'll see in your binder, will be set for September. Because they do redistricting in October, and the probate office has said from essentially October to February, they're out of commission for anything until they get redistricted. So that left us really March and April, which is a horrible time of year between spring break and graduations. So this was the only window. So I want to share that with you as testament. So do I think they can win this? I actually do. How many signatures did we end up with on the 393 on the petition? They're going to run those through probate and get those signed off on. I know that Joe and his team are very optimistic about it. He has been very involved with this. They've all done a great job, but there's a lot to be done. So they will have this vote in September. If any of you have any questions, I will tell you that this will operate the exact same way all of the other districts have. The councils adopted all of the same forms. We did work with Hayward. This is the first multi-city that we've had. I do want to footnote that. If we do another, like Alberta Orange Beach could be another area. Some of those areas may touch different areas if they didn't want to do one tax district to themselves. This kind of sets a precedent for how we would do a multi-city. Summerdale and Foley might fall into that same program. So there's some quirks about this one that were different that we had to get worked out. But now we have the single cities and the multi-cities that are being done, and we have a blueprint for that moving forward. They will be taking the vote. By the time that they do this, we will be able to levy the tax fee, because we're doing it before the 1st of October, for the next tax year and get it on the books. So they will get it the December after the 1st December. So they would get it, they would actually get the money in their hand 2 Decembers after the vote, which means Mr. Wilson generally pre-funds that budget. So if they vote on it this September, they actually will have that money in their hands for their classrooms the next school year, which is a big deal. So that's one of the other reasons we try to work it in for September. I'm not going to belabor the point, but I do like to share this with y'all because I don't know that I'm here or we're here in the future. I think it's important for y'all to understand some of the reasons why we decide to do what we do in that timeline. I'm going to give this to Mr. Lewis because in your packet there are some documents that are complete, some that are not. He can explain to you that the cities have voted because as we required many years ago, this is not an action of you. This is 3 cities who are asking you to allow them to raise taxes. And I repeat this to the public everywhere we go. This is not the Board of Education raising a tax. This is not board members, or for that matter, the county commissioners raising a tax. This is 3 cities, 3 mayors, 3 city councils who have petitioned you to ask you to please give them the opportunity to let their residents vote on raising a tax exclusively for their school children. The one last thing I'll say before I give it to Scotty is the agreements we had with Fairhope and Spanish Fort, the same agreements we have here. They will create a committee. That committee will vote. They will make recommendations to Mr. Tyler. Mr. Tyler has veto authority. Mr. Tyler will then submit it with his approval to the board for board's final approval. This district is in no way different than any other district you have already approved.
So, I mean, the documentation is pretty significant on this. These are the petitions. That's the 393 petitions that we have, and those were received Monday and have been already delivered to the County Commission and Probate Election Division. This agenda item, really, to simplify it for you, there's basically 5 parts to it, and you guys have seen a variation on this in the past. Not Mr. Stewart hadn't. Everybody else has seen it before. So really what we're talking about is there's a resolution that this body is going to consider and presumably pass. Part of that is a request from this body to the County Commission to schedule, conduct the election, basically all the moving parts associated with the special tax district election to take place on September 21st. We've already given the County Commission so we have prepared for the County Commission a similar agenda item that basically parallels this so that they're going to take the actions that are going to, that will satisfy all the mechanical requirements for the election. There's a municipal request. Those are the pages that were substituted, so we have a fully executed municipal request. So just like you're making a request to the County Commission, the cities, in this instance, the 3 cities are making a request to you. The petition, the form of the petition's in the packet, and then the form of the agreement is in the packet. So the cities have taken action to authorize execution and delivery of the request document. And so you've got that fully executed. They've authorized the agreement in form as you have in front of you. And so the mayors have been authorized to sign those. There's a couple little things that'll have to be still resolved. I mean, these are some really major issues like what are we going to call it? And, it's really some minor points. So, I mean, if you have a question about any particular item in there, I'll be happy to answer it. But again, nothing is completely new. It's just modified. Yeah, the intent behind this tax is to align it with the Spanish Fort, the term of the Spanish Fort tax. So we're entering into the second full year of the Spanish Fort tax. This will be an 8-year tax, so it'll have an 8-year duration, and it'll expire the same time the Spanish Fort tax does. Same rate, 3 mills.
Is this one set up so that it's strictly for educational purposes and no capital improvements and things like that?
That's right.
Okay.
So
I'm not sure
it's just public education purposes.
Public education. Spanish Fort took the step of excluding capital expenditure.
Right.
No one else has done that. It actually takes the locals specifically requesting that. However, I would, for functional purposes, it would be very difficult to get any kind of capital funding on a 7-year term of any significance. Not to say they, might not want to, but no, sir, it was not specifically by name excluded. In Spanish Fort, it was specifically excluded in their documents.
Spanish Fort excluded debt or indebtedness time.
Okay.
It specifically says for public school purposes in the district.
So they can spend it on anything that would be related to a public school purpose. In this particular instance, this one is the same as Fairhope. Spanish Fort was changed their mayor has a different philosophy of how to do things.
Right.
And wanted us to adopt some of those changes, and so we did.
So do you have that flexibility if other districts want to do things like that? That flexibility is available.
We, under Mr. Tyler's direction, we tried very hard to let the districts decide what they want to do. And so if they came up and said that they didn't want to spend money on athletics, and they thought that would help it pass,
Exactly.
then they prohibit athletics. So we've really left that to the district, whereas in like Fairhope wanted no restrictions. In fact, they're 30 years. It's the longest term you can have. And they didn't care, and it passed overwhelmingly. So our job has been to listen to them and let them tell us what they want, because as I said, it's not just lip service. This genuinely is something that we have required the locals to drive. I go to meet with them, when Mr. Wilson goes and meets with them to talk to them, but when I tell you that we require them to do the lifting, all we do is offer advice. We do no legwork for them, because honestly, I guess I feel like if we did, then we might not know they were really committed to it.
Restrictions or no restrictions on the request, but it still requires the local committee to vote on it and approve it in a majority form before the board takes any action on it.
And Mr. Tyler's approval and the board's approval. And anybody can object along the way.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, one thing.
Yes.
You guys got to stay in place after the meeting because everybody's got to sign, so don't run off. I really do have to, we can just real quick.
Okay.
Run down the line and everybody's signature,
All right.
assuming you pass it.
So don't run out the door, everybody. Okay. No other questions or discussion then, and all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Agenda item 4, leave of absence of personnel. The superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the leave of absence of personnel as provided to board members under separate cover.
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Johnson, second for Ms. Colley. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Agenda item 5, retirement and resignations of personnel. The superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the retirement and resignation of personnel as approved to board members under separate cover.
So moved.
Motion for Ms. Christenberry,
Second.
second for Mr. Johnson. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Steve, I want to thank you for your years of service, Stephen Grant, to Baldwin County Schools. Wish you the best in your retirement years, and we'll always be Baldwin proud of you. Thank you for your service. Agenda item, did y'all already vote? Yeah. Agenda item 6, rescission of termination of non-tenured certificated personnel. The superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve to rescind the termination of personnel as provided to board members under separate cover.
Motion for Ms. Colley,
Second.
second for Mr. Christenberry. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item 7, intent to transfer personnel. The superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the intent to transfer of personnel as provided to board members under separate cover.
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Johnson,
Second.
second for Mr. Christenberry. Any questions or discussion?
Is this the item below 10 where there's another group transfer? Are we voting on that too, or is that all included in this transfer?
No, the reassignments, that's just information.
That's just information?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Agenda item 8, employment of personnel. The superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the employment of personnel as provided to board members under separate cover.
Motion for Ms. Colley,
Second.
second for Mr. Johnson. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Agenda item 9, extra work for extended periods. Superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the extra work for extended periods as provided to board members under separate cover.
Do I hear a motion? Motion for Ms. Colley,
Second.
second for Mr. Stewart. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda item 10, administrative appointment. Superintendent recommends adoption of a motion to approve the administrative appointment as provided to board members under separate cover.
I would love to make this motion.
Motion for Mr. Stewart,
Second.
second for Mr. Christenberry. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
That's all, Ms. Dawson. I do have to commend Dr. Robbie Smith, who was appointed as interim several months ago during a difficult time, a period of time, and has done a stellar job of raising the standards at Orange Beach Middle School, High School. So we're very excited for Dr. Smith.
Thank you, everybody.
That's great.
That's all I have.
Anything for the good of the board before we go today, or anything? All right. I'm sorry? Oh, don't rush out. Yes, don't rush out. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Y'all got to vote on that in a hurry.